Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 301 based on novel. So let's start. The old man named Pang gasped, and he was filled with fear. When he felt the chill, he didn't even dare to spread out his divine sense, but he was very familiar with this chill. He could still not forget that it was because they encountered this thing that half the cultivators that came with them the second time disappeared. Before this mysterious presence, they were like mortals and couldn't resist at all. Aside from Wang Lin, due to his location, allowing him to clearly see the situation, no one else could see. Remember not to spread out your divine sense. Master Ashen Pine sent out the last divine sense message and no longer sent any more. His body was motionless and even his eyes were closed. In Wang Lin's eyes, a person appeared behind everyone. This person was wearing grey, but the lower half of his body under the clothes was transparent, allowing you to see the flesh and blood. He had no hair and his eyes were lifeless as he slowly walked over. He wasn't very fast, and it took a long time for him to arrive next to the dragon's corpse. He didn't seem to do anything, but the dragon immediately rotted into a pool of blood. What was strange was that this pool of blood entered this person's body. The person in grey still had lifeless eyes as he slowly walked forward. The boy named Duanmu was last among them, and he was motionless, but he frowned. He clearly felt the chill get closer and closer before he saw the person in grey pass by. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes. However, just at this moment, the person in grey stopped and turned his head toward Duanmu. Their gazes met and the boy's mind trembled. His mind went blank and confusion appeared in his eyes. The sun and moon appeared above his head and began to rotate. They turned into a vortex that was like the reincarnation cycle of the sun and moon. This sun and moon reincarnation cycle was the essence of Duanmu. There were a lot of runes that represented his spells. However, at this moment, what made Wang Lin's mind tremble was that the sun and moon reincarnation cycle strangely moved toward the man in grey. It gradually separated from the boy and merged with the man in grey. The confusion in the boy's eyes disappeared and was replaced with death. There wasn't a trace of vitality left in him. Then the man in grey turned around and walked forward. The boy named Duanmu lifted his feet and slowly followed the man in grey, walking at the same pace as him. This strange scene shocked everyone. The old woman in green didn't even blink and remained motionless. Before her, Chen Tianjun was the same. There weren't any fluctuations to his emotions at all. The man in grey silently walked past everyone, and the boy followed. His hair gradually fell off onto the ground. The body under the clothes gradually turned transparent. It didn't take long for the man in grey to arrive before Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained motionless and was completely focused. The man in grey didn't pause and walked past Wang Lin with the boy following behind. The two of them gradually disappeared into the distance. The surrounding chill slowly dissipated until it was completely gone. Master Ashen Pine's body trembled and he let out a deep breath. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead and he wiped it away. The three people behind him also relaxed, and shock filled their eyes. Chen Tianho's mind trembled as he whispered, "He. Who is he?" There was still fear in Master Ashen Pine's eyes as he answered in a hoarse voice, "The lost one." "Master Ashen Pine, what the hell is this place?" The old woman in green had an ugly expression as she stared at Master Ashen Pine. She was right beside the boy, so she experienced what had happened very clearly. Fellow cultivator Duanmu didn't listen to the advice, alas. The old man named Pang still had lingering fear in his eyes and shook his head. "I don't know what this place is. I call this place the Seven-Colored Realm. That grey-robed man is called the Lost One, that I'm sure of. In the Seven-Colored World, there aren't many lost ones. If they appear, as long as you don't spread out your divine sense and don't move, there is no danger. If you move, then you will end up like fellow cultivator Duanmu." Master Ashen Pine spade in a serious tone. Wang Lin stood up. He looked at Master Ashen Pine and calmly said, "There originally weren't many lost ones here, but after you came, the number increased." The old woman in green sneered but didn't speak. Chen Tianjuan's expression was gloomy as he stared at Master Ashen Pine and slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine, You have already come here twice. Did you leave a few people to become new lost ones each time? Master Ashenpine's expression was bleak and he was silent for a long time. Then he nodded and bitterly said, "That grey-robed man just now was a friend that came with me the first time. He was taken away by a lost one." Chen Tianjun let out a cold snort and said, "Coming here was a mistake. I quit." As he spoke, they turned around and went back where they came. He disappeared without a trace. Master Ashenpine didn't stop. After Chen Tianjun left, he slowly said, "Without me leading the way, he won't be able to go back. I didn't think we would encounter a lost one so soon. Fellow cultivator Lu and Zhao, I know of a cultivation cave between the inner and outer regions of this seven-colored realm. You all know the owner of that cave. It was the head disciple of the heaven-breaking sect from 18,000 years ago, Sima Mo." The old woman in green's expression remained the same, as if she hadn't heard him. Wang Lin silently pondered. He looked at Master Ashenpine, waiting for the rest. Ignoring how powerful Sima Mo was, he was also good at alchemy. He took the pill recipe that caused a calamity and left. Although I don't know how that pill recipe appeared in the rank 5 region, I'm certain that Sima Mo's cave indeed exists. As for whether he successfully refined that pill, I don't know, but even without it, there must be a lot of treasures there. When he finished speaking, he took out a jade and threw it at Wang Lin. Wang Lin caught it and checked it with his divine sense before passing it to the old woman in green. "I found this jade here before, and that's why I'm so sure," Master Ashenpine said calmly. However, after seeing that their expressions still hadn't changed and they hadn't agreed to continue exploring, he frowned. "Fellow cultivator Zhao, from now on, I and fellow cultivator Pang will give you all our shares of the fierce beasts we kill. Also, I promise you get to pick 10 things first from that place I told you about before." The old woman in green hesitated and asked, "How confident are you in entering that place?" Master Ashenpine pondered a bit and said, "If you and fellow cultivator Lu help, I'm 60% confident." "Okay." The old woman in green closed her eyes for a moment and then nodded. Master Ashenpine looked at Wang Lin and said, "The place I and fellow cultivator Zhao were talking about is in inner part of this seven-colored world. Although it is dangerous, the harvest will be greater. According to the clues I found, there are many souls of rank 8 to 13 beasts sealed here. I have prepared enough herbs so that as long as there is enough time, I can produce a large amount of pills. If fellow cultivator Lu agrees, you can pick 10 first as well." Wang Lin silently pondered. In his mind, there was no way Master Ashenpine's goal was so simple, and given his cunning, there was no way he would expose his purpose. Master Ashen said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, I can take you to a few safe places with fog beasts and gather all the origin crystals there. Also, I won't take a single thing from Sima Mo's cave. Let's take the origin crystals first." Wang Lin looked at Master Ashenpine. "Okay." Master Ashen didn't say any more and looked around. He didn't continue down the narrow passage but charged directions. The three of them charged off into the distance. Master Ashenpine was very familiar with his place. After 1 hour, he arrived at another place filled with fog. This was an abyss shrouded in fog. After entering this place, Master Ashenpine was very careful and slowly moved forward. When he was 1,000 feet from the fog, he stopped. His right hand reached out and a large amount of celestial jades flew out and circled him. Then he closed his hand and all the celestial jades turned to dust. He took a deep breath and carefully waved that dust toward the fog. Just at this moment, a roar came from the fog and a turtle-like beast peeked out its head. It sucked in the celestial jade dust. Master Ashenpine took out more celestial jades, which he crushed into dust, and softly said, "Fellow cultivator Pang." The old man named Pang had cooperated with Master Ashenpine many times, and he skillfully rushed into the fog. The turtle fog beast looked back and hesitated, but at this moment, more celestial jade dust flew over. The beast immediately devoured it. When Wang Lin saw this, his eyes shined, but he remained calm. Shortly after, the old man named Pang rushed back out from the fog and returned to everyone's side. Master Ashenpine scattered more celestial jade dust and slowly retreated. It wasn't until he retreated out more than 10,000 feet that he stopped scattering celestial jade dust. How many? Master Ashen Pine looked at the old man named Pang. Less than 3,000. The old man named Pang didn't hesitate to hand a bag of holding to Wang Lin. Some rank 12 fog beasts like to devour celestial jades. You can use celestial jades to get some origin crystals. After Master Ashen Pine spoke, he led everyone to a number of fog beasts. Using the same method, they confused more fierce beasts and got nearly 20,000 origin crystals in return. Master Ashen Pine stopped and returned to that narrow road. On the way back, I'll get more origin crystals for fellow cultivator Lu on a different path. Based on the past, there should be about 60,000 to 70,000 origin crystals in total. Enlighten, prisoner of the Tao of Heaven, all sentient beings must endure immeasurable calamities. It only takes a thought to leave the deep prison. Await the path of cultivation. The information from the jade next to the skeleton echoed in Wang Lin's mind. He looked at the seven-colored world and silently nodded. There was only one line on this jade. Wang Lin pondered for a long time but still didn't fully understand the meaning of it. Just based on the words, there were many interpretations. His gaze swept past Master Ashen Pine. Wang Lin knew that Master Ashen Pine had been here several times and had explored a lot of caves here. Master Ashen Pine must have obtained some rare treasures, cultivation methods, or information here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so familiar with this place. They continued down the narrow mountain path with Master Ashen Pine carefully walking in front. He only had a simple map of the area past this point and hadn't actually gone down this path before. Previously, he took another path, and it was there that he obtained a jaden map containing the information that tempted him. They went down the narrow road for several days. After avoiding various fog beasts, they arrived deep within the mountain range. There was one more mountain before them, and after passing here, they would see what was behind the mountain. The old woman in green was calm and didn't look to the side, as if she was a monk. Wang Lin had looked at her several times, but he wasn't able to see through her thoughts. Wang Lin only knew that this old woman in green was named Zhao and nothing else. However, he noticed along the way that although she was following Master Ashen Pine, each of her steps was intricate. There were many restrictions here, but most of them had already collapsed. However, this old woman always stepped on an empty spot or where the restrictions were weak. This was a habit, and it wouldn't change just because the restriction had lost power. It was hard to notice something so subtle unless you were a restriction grandmaster. The old man named Pang followed closely after Master Ashen Pine and didn't dare to be too close to Wang Lin. He obviously dreaded Wang Lin a lot. At this moment, there was no road left before them. Master Ashen Pine's brows were knit tightly and he pondered. The seven-colored light still covered the sky, making it impossible to tell if it was night or day. Fluctuations of origin energy came from the sky, catching everyone's attention. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked into the distance. He could see that there was fog churning in the sky a few mountains back. The origin energy fluctuations were coming from there. There was also a feeling of a power that could shake the soul. Master Ashen Pine looked at the distance and coldly said, "It's Chen Tianjuan's spell." After a long time, the fluctuations dissipated and the fog calmed down. It was as if nothing had happened, and no more fluctuations came. "I fear it is likely that Chen Tianjuan is dead. He didn't listen to our advice and deserved to die. This seven-colored realm is not a place you can casually move in, and the road changes every time. Unless you know this place well, you can't casually enter or leave." The old man named Pang sneered and there was mockery in his eyes. "Well, let's put the matter about Chen Tianjuan aside. Fellow cultivator Zhao, I checked and there seems to be restrictions in the way. As for how to crack them, I need fellow cultivator Zhao to help." Master Ashen Pine took a few steps back and clasped his hands at the old woman in green. The old woman in green had already checked the path ahead, and right now she silently nodded. Unfortunately, fellow cultivator Duanmu was taken by the Lost One. If he was still here, he could have used his Tao to temporarily stop the restrictions from changing and help fellow cultivator Zhao. Master Ashen Pine shook his head. "Most of the restrictions here are ones I've never seen before. I don't have much confidence in breaking them. The old woman in green walked forward as she spoke and arrived at the end of the path. There was no path here, only mountains. If you wanted to pass, you'd have to climb up the mountain, but there was dense fog up the mountain that sealed all path. Touching the mountain rock, the eyes of the old woman in green lit up and she pondered. Wang Lin wasn't fazed and withdrew his gaze from the stone. He sat down and began to cultivate. He was going to keep himself at his peak so he would be ready for anything unexpected that might happen. Time slowly passed. The old woman in green didn't move, but the changes in her eyes became even more drastic. She eventually frowned. Master Ashen Pine, are you sure there is a restriction here? Why not just climb over? The old woman in green looked at Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine pondered for a moment before saying, there isn't just one fierce beast on top of this mountain. According to what I know, there are 7. They are all rank 12 fierce beasts. We came here from another path before and tried to climb the mountain, but we suffered heavy casualties. In the end, we weren't able to pass. Then I found a map that showed that there was a passage through the mountain, and the entrance is here. The old woman in green pondered a bit before retreating 2 steps. Her hands formed a seal. After images of her hands appeared and they overlapped to form a complex rune. The rune suddenly landed on the mountain's rock. Wang Lin's mind trembled and he pretended to look over casually. The moment the restriction fell on the mountain, the surface of the rock seemed to melt and ripples appeared like when one threw a pebble into a lake. However, what was strange was that the ripples were strings of small incantations. An ancient and decaying aura came out from the mountain stone. The old woman in green retreated a few more steps, then her hands formed more seals and pointed a few times at her chest. 7 strands of gas flew out from her orifices, each strand containing a large amount of vitality, and they surrounded her. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The old woman unexpectedly sank into the mountain rock with 3 steps. The ripples became even more intense and the rock became transparent. This allowed Master Ashen Pine and others to clearly see the massive stone tunnel inside. However, aside from the entrance, it was completely dark inside. Even their gazes were devoured by the darkness. When the old woman in green sank into the stone, her face turned pale and her body began to distort as if she was being squeezed by an unimaginable force. A faint popping sound came from her body. She closed her eyes and cultivated for a moment. Then she opened her eyes and walked forward. Each step made her body trembled more violently, and the amount of ripples around the rock multiplied. The ancient aura became a powerful pressure that surrounded the area. After walking 3 steps, her eyes were bloodshot. Her hands formed a seal and mercilessly pressed down between her eyebrows. The old woman's wrinkly face went through a shocking change. Most of the wrinkles quickly dissipated. Even her body suddenly seemed to rejuvenate, and she turned into a middle-aged woman around 40. Although her appearance wasn't stunning, she had the grace of a beautiful, mature woman. She took 2 more steps, and just as she was about to take the 6th step, she coughed out a mouthful of blood. She could no longer bear it and retreated from the mountain rock. She only stopped retreating when she was next to Wang Lin. Her face immediately changed back to her old self. The old woman bitterly said, 9-step heaven sealing formation. This is an ancient formation. I have seen it in records but never in real life. For someone to place this restriction, their restriction ability is already at the peak. 9-step heaven sealing formation. Wang Lin looked at the mountain rock. After the old woman retreated, it returned to normal, and it was impossible to find anything wrong with it. This formation was damaged due to the passage of time, so it has no offensive capabilities, but its sealing power is unaffected. With my cultivation, I can only take 5 steps. Any more and my body can't handle it. Master Ashen Pine frowned as he looked at the formation and asked, how do we break this formation? The old woman in green took out some pills and ate them. She began cultivating and said, take the 10th step and you can break it. Master Ashen Pine pondered. After a long time, he clenched his teeth and waved his hand. A set of black devil armor appeared around him. Devilish energy filled the area and made Master Ashen Pine look like a devil god. I want to see how many steps I can take with my cultivation and this armor. Fellow cultivator Zhao, open it for me. Master Ashen Pine had no other choice. He had already come this far, and he wasn't willing to give up. He took 2 steps and charged at the mountain rock. The old woman in green formed a seal and pointed forward. A restriction flew out and landed on the mountain rock before Master Ashen Pine. Ripples appeared again and the rock became transparent once more. Master Ashen Pine didn't hesitate and directly stepped into the rock. His mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator erupted, and the moment he entered the rock, he took 4 steps. Every step seemed to give off a thunderous boom. Master Ashen Pine's face turned pale and the armor gave off dense devilish energy. After 4 steps, he paused for a bit before his eyes lit up and he unexpectedly took 3 more steps. After he took these 3 steps, Master Ashen Pine's face was pale and his body was faintly trembling. However, he clenched his teeth and let out a roar as he took another step. This was the 8th step. The moment the 5th step landed, popping sounds came from Master Ashen Pine's body and blood came out of the corner of his mouth. His eyes were bloodshot. 1,000 years of preparation and he was stopped by a formation. He was unwilling to yield. Roar. Master Ashen Pine clenched his teeth and stepped forward again. At this moment, there was a hint of excitement in the old man named Pang's eyes, and the eyes of the old woman in green lit up. It was impossible to see her thoughts. The moment the 9th step landed, it was as if Master Ashen Pine had smashed into a wall. A huge force smashed into his body and he coughed out blood. His body was ejected from the stone and it took several dozen feet for him to stop. If I can't enter, then none of them will be able to leave this 7-colored realm. His face was pale as he stared at the mountain rock. There was a hint of madness and ferociousness in Master Ashen Pine's eyes. Wang Lin stood up and patted the dust off his clothes. He looked at the scattered devil armor on Master Ashen Pine and calmly said, "Let me try." "You." Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin. As he did so, the madness in his eyes was gradually hid away. He thought, this person's body is indeed strange. Earlier, he was able to stand up against the dragon with his body. Perhaps he can break the formation with the power of his body. Okay, I'll rely on fellow cultivator Lu. Master Ashen Pine clasped his hands and his expression returned to normal. The old man named Pang sneered. He thought that if even Master Ashen Pine with the devil armor could only take 9 steps, then how many steps could this person named Lu possibly take? Wang Lin looked at the stone. He originally wasn't going to act, but after he saw the madness in Master Ashen Pine's eyes, he was moved. Although it was dangerous here, there must have been something important in this place to interest Master Ashen Pine so much. If they couldn't enter, Master Ashen Pine wouldn't let them leave. Although Wang Lin had already secretly prepared for this and therefore didn't care, he wanted to know what would make Master Ashen Pine so crazy. I ask fellow cultivator Zhao to help and open the formation. Wang Lin clasped his hands at the old woman in green. The old woman in green was obviously holding back. She had used the fact that Master Ashen Pin was anxious and had made him try it himself, resulting in his injury. We haven't even found the treasure, and these people already began secretly fighting amongst each other to weaken each other's strength. If I want to participate in this mess, I must do the same. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, and no one could see through his thoughts. The old woman in green raised her right hand and waved. A restriction landed on the mountain rock, causing it to become transparent, and ripples appeared. Wang Lin arrived next to the mountain rock in a few steps and walked inside. No one noticed that when he entered the rock, Wang Lin's right hand sent out an invisible restriction as he went inside. Just as he entered the mountain rock, Wang Lin felt pressure from all directions. The pressure was even more intense ahead. He was very slow as he walked forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. When the 3rd step fell, Wang Lin clearly felt the pressure reach an unimaginable height, and the pressure ahead was like a violent storm. It was as if countless mountains were pressing down on him, preventing him from moving forward. With every extra step, the pressure would increase. As a result, the more he walked, the more difficult it became. If it was an ordinary cultivator, their body wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure, and they would inevitably collapse. However, Wang Lin had the body of an ancient god, so this was nothing to him. However, At this moment, his face was extremely pale and he stopped at the third step. After a moment, he lifted his feet once more. 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps. The moment the 6th step landed, the pressure reached an earth-shattering degree. It was as if countless hands were pressing down and countless spells were up ahead. It made him feel like a lonely boat in the stormy sea. Wang Lin's face was deathly pale and his body trembled slightly. It seemed like he was going to retreat, but at this moment, a force appeared behind him and prevented him from retreating. At this moment, outside the mountain rock, the old woman in green stared at Wang Lin and pondered. There is a change in the formation. Master Ashen Pine frowned as he looked at Wang Lin's body. After carefully looking at Wang Lin for a bit, he began to carefully think about his own 6th step and became silent. The old man named Pang sneered and thought that he had thought too highly of this person before. This person only had cultivation but no cunning. If one were to get injured here, they would be unable to continue. Wang Lin stopped at the 6th step for a long time before he took the 7th step. On the 7th step, he coughed out blood, but he didn't retreat. He then took the 8th step. The moment the 8th step landed, popping sounds came from Wang Lin's body as if his flesh and bones were being squeezed. Large amounts of blood sprayed out, causing his white robe to become blood red. At this moment, Master Ashen Pine was moved, and he walked a few steps closer. His gaze was like lightning as he observed Wang Lin. The old woman in green also stood up, and her expression was serious. As for the old man named Pang, he sneered even more in his heart. Wang Lin's body, which was inside the mountain rock, seemed to become twisted. He lifted his right foot, and there was a faint roar from the mountain rock as he took the 9th step. Wang Lin's body trembled violently and the veins on his face became swollen. His eyes were bloodshot, but he stabilized himself. Master Ashen Pine's mind trembled and he shouted, "Fellow cultivator Lu, only one more step." The old woman in green revealed a complicated expression. She looked for a long time and couldn't see any sign of Wang Lin faking it. It was all very real. The formation unexpectedly changed. Even if he wanted to return, he can't. Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine and Zhao, I have already done my best on this trip. If I'm seriously injured, you all, Wang Lin's weak voice came from inside the rock. Fellow cultivator Lu can rest assured. This old man will not forget his promise. Master Ashen Pine sent out his message. Wang Lin seemed to hesitate inside the mountain rock, but soon he lifted his right foot and took the 10th step. The moment the 10th step landed, the entire mountain roared and shook violently. Large amounts of rocks fell off the mountain and alerted the fog beasts at the top. The 9-step heaven-sealing formation collapse. Wang Lin coughed out more blood. As the formation collapsed, a powerful force pushed Wang Lin out of the mountain. Master Ashen Pine's eyes lit up and he immediately moved forward. His right hand aimed directly at Wang Lin's back. The moment his right hand touched Wang Lin, his origin energy and divine sense rushed into Wang Lin's body. He cycled once through Wang Lin's body and then quickly withdrew. It was inconvenient for him to kill Wang Lin before the old woman in green. Otherwise, it would put her on extremely high alert and cause unnecessary trouble in the future. His purpose was to test if this person named Lu was really seriously injured. Now that he got his answer, he wasn't going to bother with someone who was already seriously injured and no longer a threat. Just at this moment, the roar of beasts suddenly appeared. A hawk-like beast charged out from the mountain and rushed at everyone. Master Ashen Pine grabbed Wang Lin and directly charged into the tunnel that appeared once the formation collapsed. The old man named Pang and the old woman in green quickly followed into the tunnel. Everyone quickly moved through the tunnel for a long time. Only after they could no longer hear the roars of the beasts did they stop. Master Ashen Pine put Wang Lin down and looked regretful. He clasped his hands. Brother Lu was willing to get seriously injured to open the formation. This old man will remember this. Wang Lin's face was pale and there was still blood on the corner of his lip. He waved his hand and revealed a wry smile. That formation was very strange. After I took 6 steps, there was a force behind me, so I could only move forward. No matter what, fellow cultivator Lu has contributed greatly to us entering here. Master Ashen Pine looked very sincere and continued to clasp his hands. Seeing that Wang Lin's face was tired, he immediately took out pills and handed them to Wang Lin. Brother Lu, rest and recover for a bit. Once you recover a bit, we can continue moving forward. Wang Lin pondered a bit and bitterly nodded. He took the pill but didn't consume it. He brought his own pills and swallowed them before closing his eyes to cultivate. The old man named Pang's eyes lit up and revealed a hint of coldness. Just at this moment, Master Ashen Pine looked at the old man and shook his head slightly. Time slowly passed. It didn't take long before Wang Lin opened his eyes and stood up. He said in a hoarse voice, "My injuries can't heal in a short period of time. Let's move forward." Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin and nodded. The old woman in green sighed in her heart but didn't speak. Everyone walked forward through the tunnel. This place was very quiet, with only the sounds of their footsteps echoing. After an unknown amount of time, light appeared in the distance. Master Ashen Pine suppressed the excitement in his heart and quickly walked ahead. The location of the light was the exit of this tunnel. Looking outside, Master Ashen Pine began to laugh. There was a large valley outside the tunnel. It was filled with vegetation, and one could easily smell the faint fragrance of the flowers. It was a relaxing scent. After the valley stood a mountain range that was like a city wall. These mountains were very tall and walled off the outside world. After we pass the mountain range, we will enter the inner part of this realm. Sima Mo's cave is not in the mountain, but in a valley before it. Master Ashen Pine laughed as he flew forward at a fast pace. The old woman in green followed and the two of them flew away. Wang Lin's face was pale and the seven-colored light was even more harsh. He took a deep breath and followed. The old man named Pang sneered and remained not far from Wang Lin. It didn't take long for the four of them to arrive at a valley under Master Ashen Pine's guidance. As soon as they entered the valley, they saw a cave before them. The wall of this cave was covered in grass, making it obvious it hadn't been used for a long time. It wasn't very large and only had 3 rooms. The ground was a mess with pills scattered everywhere. Most of them had fossilized and would crumble if you touched them. Master Ashen Pine's mind was obviously not on the cave. He looked at the old woman in green and said, "I won't take anything from here. Everything belongs to fellow cultivators Zhao and Lu." The old woman in green's divine sense spread out and she shook her head. "Fellow cultivator Lu has paid a heavy price, so how could I take anything? Let fellow cultivator Lu take everything." Wang Lin looked around and let out a sigh. "I am unable to continue with the two of you. This place is quiet and suitable for healing. Fellow cultivator is seriously injured, so it's better for you to heal for a few days. After fellow cultivator Zhao and I return, we'll naturally hand over what was promised. Then we can leave together." Master Ashen Pine smiled. "Many thanks." Wang Lin nodded. "However, although this place is quiet, it is still dangerous as there might be fierce beasts. Fellow cultivator Pang, there is one thing I want to ask of you." Master Ashen Pine pondered for a bit before looking at the old man named Pang. "If fellow cultivator Lu recovers here by himself, I will feel worried, so I'd like to ask fellow cultivator Pang to stay here to protect him. Part of what I and fellow cultivator Zhao find will be given to you as payment. How about it?" The old man named Pang's eyes lit up and he said, "As it should be." Wang Lin frowned and was about to speak. "What, is fellow cultivator not satisfied?" Master Ashen Pine's expression shrank as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained silent. "Since fellow cultivator Lu agrees, then I'll leave it to fellow cultivator Pang." After Master Ashen Pine finished speaking, he looked at the old woman in green and the two left the cave. They charged straight for the wall-like mountain range in the distance. However, before leaving, the old woman in green glanced at Wang Lin. Similarly, Master Ashen Pine looked at the old man named Pang. After the two of them left, the old man named Pang revealed a gloomy smile and stared at Wang Lin. He turned the ring on his finger and slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, continue to cultivate. This old man will guard you well." After he finished speaking, he presumptuously scanned Wang Lin with his divine sense. After confirming that Wang Lin's injuries were real, he didn't even look at Wang Lin and began raiding the cave. Wang Lin closed his eyes and ignored the old man. Time slowly passed. When the old man searched the 3 stone rooms, he revealed a look of ecstasy. After returning, he coldly stared at Wang Lin and suddenly laughed. "Fellow cultivator Lu, this old man remembers you once said something." Wang Lin opened his eyes. His gaze was calm as he looked at the old man named Pang. Seeing Wang Lin's calm eyes, the old man's eyes narrowed but quickly returned to normal. He said with an eerie tone, "You once told me that I should speak carefully. If I speak carelessly, it might invite a calamity." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly said, "I did indeed say that, and I'll say it now as well. If you speak carelessly, it might invite a calamity." The old man began to laugh like crazy, and the scars on his face looked extremely ferocious. He looked at Wang Lin with a cold gaze and said, "If you weren't injured, I might have been a bit afraid of you. However, now I want to see which one of us has invited a calamity." He looked at Wang Lin and slammed his right hand down on him. The reason he had waited until now to attack was to allow Master Ashen Pine and the old woman in green to gain some distance. He feared that she might notice. Wang Lin's eyes were still as calm as water. The moment the old man's right hand closed in, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His left hand moved like lightning and grabbed the old man's right hand, then he mercilessly squeezed. A crackling sound echoed, and the old man's pupils shrank. Pain came from his hand, but it was insignificant compared to the terror in his heart. "You." The old man named Pang immediately retreated and was about to use a spell. However, at this moment, Wang Lin rushed out and his right hand forced a fist. A powerful force whistled forward. The old man was too close to Wang Lin and thus was unable to dodge at all. Wang Lin's fist landed on the old man's chest with a bang. The old man coughed out blood and his eyes became filled with disbelief. His body exploded into a pile of flesh and blood and his origin soul escaped screaming. He was filled with fear. He was afraid. He would have never expected the person before him to not be injured. He was about to escape when Wang Lin lifted his right hand and an iron sword appeared. He slashed down without any hesitation. There was a flash of sword energy, then the old man's origin soul was cut in half and he let out a scream. Wang Lin waved his hand and grabbed the old man's origin soul. His hand crushed half of the origin soul, and before the origin energy could dissipate, Wang Lin inhaled it. The other half of the origin soul was almost transparent, but it didn't dare to escape. It turned in Wang Lin's hand with the iron sword pointed at it. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin had made the killing strike without wasting any time at all. The old man wasn't prepared, making his spells and magic treasure useless. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he gloomily said, "Open your storage space and I won't kill you." The old man's origin soul was very weak, and he already felt like he was dissipating. Wang Lin looked incredibly powerful right now. He couldn't tell if what Wang Lin had said was the truth or a lie. If it was a lie, he'd die, but if it was true, he still had a chance to live. He clenched his teeth and opened his storage space. Wang Lin waved his iron sword and cut off the connection between the old man and the storage space. Then he took everything inside the storage space. Then he coldly looked at the old man's origin soul and killing intent flashed in his eyes. The old man named Pang's origin soul immediately screamed, "You promised to not kill me." Wang Lin let out a cold snort as his right hand grabbed the origin soul and forcibly searched the old man's memories while he was weakened. A moment later, he put the origin soul that was close to death inside his storage space. He really didn't decide to kill this old man. If this old man's death raised Master Ashen Pine's guard, then it wouldn't be worth it as it would destroy Wang Lin's plan. This person has a very close relationship with Master Ashen Pine, so Master Ashen Pine might have his life token. Once he dies, Master Ashen Pine might immediately know. Wang Lin wasn't sure, and he hadn't seen it in the old man's memory. But he'd always rather tread with caution. After calculating for a bit, Wang Lin leisurely opened his storage space and searched the old man's stuff. The old man was a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, so he had a lot of treasures. There were hundreds of thousands of celestial jades, and there were even 50,000 to 60,000 origin crystals. Aside from these, there were large amounts of herb and pill recipes. This old man was fully prepared for this trip. These were all secondary. Wang Lin mainly searched the jades. Among the jades, he found 2 maps and a chant to leave this place. The 2 maps were related to the 7-colored realm. Some routes were marked, including places where you could feed fog beasts celestial jades to get origin crystals. It was very detailed. Unfortunately, Wang Lin was unable to find Master Ashen Pine's true goal in the old man's memories. Even the old man only knew that there were a lot of beast souls sealed there. Aside from that, Wang Lin learned other things about the 7-colored realm. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin arrived at the 3rd room and saw the beast skeleton on the ground. This beast wasn't very large, only about the size of a person, and it was shaped like a deer. Its bones were completely black, and many of them had turned to dust. After taking a closer look, the dust had appeared recently. It was obvious that the old man done this when taking the sword. Looking at the beast bone, Wang Lin gradually frowned. He felt like something was wrong. Why was there a deer in such a cave? Also, it was easy to see that this short sword was not ordinary even though it was still sealed. Once the seal was open, its power would be unimaginable. Yet such a treasure was stabbed into this deer and left here. Since this place isn't Sima Mo's cave, then whose cave is it? Wang Lin had searched the old man's memories and found that this wasn't Sima Mo's cave. Master Ashen Pine had never intended to take him to the real cave. This was just a cave Master Ashen Pine had randomly found. Sima Mo did indeed have a cave in this land, but it was not here. Wang Lin now knew its real location. Looking at the beast skeleton on the ground, Wang Lin pondered for a long time before walking out of the room. He had no clues and wasn't able to analyze more. He put away the short sword and was about to leave. Then Wang Lin's footsteps suddenly stopped as if he had thought of something. He looked down at the ground. In the corner, there was a ring inside the pile of flesh and blood. Wang Lin remembered that this ring was the old man's beast treasure. It was something he had obtained from the 7-colored realm, but Wang Lin had instantly killed him before he could use it. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and the ring flew into his hand. After wiping off the blood, Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense, and his expression changed slightly. There was a seal with a total of 9 layers on this ring. The old man named Pang had opened 7 layers and gained partial control of the ring. He had also broken more than half of the 8th layer. Wang Lin erased the imprint on it and placed his own, then he carefully looked at it. With his knowledge of restrictions, it would not be difficult to break the rest of the seal. His left hand formed a seal and sent out a restriction. The instant it fell on the ring, popping sounds echoed as the mostly broken 8th layer shattered. The ring unexpectedly gave off a 5-colored glow, and 5 rays of light circled Wang Lin. These 5 rays of light formed a very strong shield. As they circled Wang Lin, they could prevent all spells from getting close. If the old man named Pang had opened the 8th seal, I wouldn't have killed him so fast. With a thought, the 5 rays of light went back into the ring and Wang Lin put it away. He took a deep breath and looked outside the cave. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He shot out of the cave and chased after them. As he moved, he didn't spread out his divine sense, he only kept it wrapped around his body. He navigated through the valley with a strange connection he was feeling. If Master Ashen Pine saw Wang Lin's path, he would be shocked. This route was exactly the same one he had taken with the old woman in green. How can I, Wang Lin, let you wear my scattered devil armor for nothing? Next part. This place was covered in grass and there was no fog, so he could clearly see into the distance. Wang Lin was rushing his way through the valley. Sometimes he would stop and close his eyes for a moment as if he was sensing where the path was. A moment later, he would open his eyes and rush forward again. The wall-like mountain range was in the distance, and as time passed, Wang Lin gradually closed in. After about a day, Wang Lin stopped outside a valley. This was already very close to the mountain range. He only needed to travel through the valley to arrive at the foot of the mountain range. Looking at the valley ahead, Wang Lin began to ponder. This valley was a strange. After carefully observing for a bit, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His right hand formed a restriction and he pointed to the spot between his eyebrows. A black line flew out from between his eyebrows. It twisted into a restriction mark as it flew forward. The restriction floated in the air, giving off a black glow that surrounded the area. As the black light shrouded the area, silver light came from the grass before him, revealing a strange pattern. It was the pattern of a plum flower. The moment Wang Lin saw this, his eyes narrowed. The 18 plum flower restriction. This 18 plum flower restriction hadn't been here for a long time, it was only placed here one day ago. Apparently, the old woman in green had placed it here. The 18 plum flower restriction was derived from one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the annihilation restriction. If Wang Lin hadn't gone to all heaven, he wouldn't have been able to break this restriction. However, when he was all heaven, Wang Lin gained the inheritance of one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the annihilation restriction. This 18 plum flower restriction was derived from the annihilation restriction, so it wasn't difficult for Wang Lin to break. The old woman in green left this restriction here. Presumably it is for an ambush and a warning. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he was about to move forward when he suddenly stopped. He carefully looked at the 18 plum flower restriction on the ground. He had a vague feeling that things weren't this simple. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and carefully scanned the grass inch by inch. His expression gradually grew serious, especially when he saw the black light not so far from the 18 plum flower restriction. He immediately thought about the black gas the old woman had used to absorb the dragon's vitality and to enter the 9-step heaven ceiling formation. When he saw the old woman's restriction, he felt it was strange, but it was inconvenient to observe too closely, so he couldn't see through it. However, with the restriction before him, he thought for a bit and gained enlightenment. To form vitality from endless death aura, this method is similar to one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the life and death restriction. Wang Lin pondered a bit as he squatted down and his right hand moved. He slowly pulled up some grass from the soil, and his eyes narrowed. The root of the grass had already decayed, and there wasn't much vitality left. In just a few more hours, it would lose all its vitality and the restriction here would be activated completely. The old woman in green didn't have time to do anything too detailed with Master Ashen Pine around. She simply left a restriction here that would absorb vitality from the vegetation. Once all the vitality had been absorbed, the restriction would activate, Wang Lin muttered to himself. He then became extremely vigilant toward the old woman in green. Right now this restriction is half complete, so it's not as if I can't break it, unless, Wang Lin smiled and took a few steps back. His hands formed a seal and pointed forward. The black light formed by the annihilation restriction heart suddenly collapsed into specks of black light that landed on this patch of grass. I won't break this restriction. Instead, I'll leave my own imprint and restriction on it before it fully activates. By doing so, I will take over this restriction without the old woman knowing. With my annihilation restriction and the life and death restriction, that's 2 of the 4 great ancient restrictions. Even if Master Ashen Pine were to carelessly step inside, he would be seriously injured. Wang Lin carefully moved through the field. He didn't relax until he entered the valley. After looking around, Wang Lin looked at the end of the valley. It was connected to the wall-like mountain range. The mountain was very steep, as if it was a tower. Without pausing, Wang Lin climbed up the mountain like lightning. Thinking about the life and death restriction, Wang Lin could not help but remember what Li Yuan had said back then. When the world was born, laws appeared. After a long time, a strand spread out into restriction, or formation. They have different names, but they're the same thing. Heaven, earth, mysterious, and yellow have been the 4 ranks of restrictions for a very long time. However, there was still a level above those 4, and we call it abstract. The abstract is split into the 4 great ancient restrictions. Aside from the annihilation restriction of the 4 great ancient restrictions, there are the life and death restriction, the ancient soul restriction, and the mysterious time restriction. Even most of the celestial restrictions were derived from these 4 great ancient restrictions and spread to the present. Wang Lin began to ponder as he climbed the mountain. When I left the All-Heaven star system, Li Yuan said that if one could learn all 4 great ancient restrictions and fuse them, they would be able to comprehend the abstract realm. Abstract is the peak of restrictions. However, over the countless years since the restriction law split from the birth of the world, No one has been able to comprehend the abstract realm. Wang Lin let out a sigh and no longer thought about this matter. Instead, he focused on sensing Master Ashen Pine's route. Half a day passed by. Wang Lin stood at the highest point of the mountain under the seven-colored light. The seven-colored light surrounded him, and from a distance, he looked like a celestial god. This wall-like mountain range was like a ring that separated the inner part from the outside. This place was filled with dense fog, so it was impossible to see what it was like. It was like a black sea that had faintly revealed its danger. Looking ahead, Wang Lin could clearly feel that Master Ashen Pine was in the fog. Wang Lin's eyes turned cold as he charged down the mountain and disappeared into the distance. Master Ashen Pine was wearing the Divine Devil armor and was being extremely cautious. He had to be on guard with every step he took while inside the fog. The old woman in green was beside him, and she had black gas surrounding her. The surroundings were completely silent with only their footsteps echoing. That person named Lu should be dead by now. Pang Detsai is good at soul-searching, so he must have had a good harvest, especially with that war spirit print. It is one of the great spells of the God sect. Master Ashen Pine had calculated the time. They had worked together often, so they could know each other's thoughts at a glance. Pang Detsai should be on his way. Master Ashen Pine's eyes shined an indiscernible amount. The old woman in green hadn't spoken at all, but she suddenly asked, "Master Ashen Pine, how far away is the place you mentioned?" "Not far, it should be just ahead." Just as he spoke, he suddenly stopped. At the same time, the old woman in green also stopped and cautiously looked ahead. There was a blurry, giant statue hidden in the fog before them. The statue seemed to be moving. As the fog churned, the statue seemed to change. The two of them looked at each other and slowly walked forward. It didn't take long for them to arrive below the giant statue and look up. This was a giant boulder more than 1,000 feet tall with a man carved into it. He was looking up at the sky, pondering, and there was a lightning-like mark between his eyebrows. The old woman in green was startled as she stared at the mark between the eyebrows of the statue, and her expression suddenly changed. Just at this moment, erratic voice penetrated from the thick fog. It was strange and contained a force that could penetrate the soul. It seemed to came from the distance but also close by. It was impossible to know where it was coming from. Enlightened, prisoner of the Tao of Heaven, all sentient beings must endure immeasurable calamities. It only takes a thought to leave the deep prison. Await the path of cultivation. Enlightened, all life must walk forever forward and solve the modern age. Escape the will of heaven and obtain the path to life. Await the path of cultivation. Enlightened, seal the will of the heavens. Engrave the dark days. All life doesn't know the true Tao. The bitter abyss forever distorts the true Tao. Await the path of cultivation. This eerie passage echoed through the fog and filled the area. Master Ashen Pine's face immediately turned pale and he looked around in fear. The old woman in green sucked in a breath of cold air. These strange words remained in her mind and continued to echo. It unexpectedly caused her origin soul to tremble, and her Tao heart became unstable. Who are they? What do these words mean? The old woman in green looked at Master Ashen Pine. They are the enlightened ones. Just after he finished speaking, the fog before them churned and a shadow flew out. It was too fast, and it directly floated past between the two of them. The strange voice clearly entered their mind. Master Ashen Pine, what exactly are the enlightened ones? The old woman's face was pale as the passages echoed in her mind. She was beginning to feel like she couldn't withstand it anymore. The lost ones have lost their Tao and search in confusion as they wander the seven-colored realm. They blindly search. The enlightened ones have Tao, but due to seeing the Tao scripture, their Tao hearts collapsed and couldn't reform. They could only float in this fog and search forever. They may already be dead, and this is merely a Tao soul formed from their will. Master Ashen Pine whispered as he listened to those words echo in his mind. Tao scripture? The old woman in green's eyes narrowed. Master Ashen Pine raised his head. His eyes were filled with fervor as he slowly said, "Yes, it is the Tao scripture. I have never heard of this before coming to the seven-colored realm, but after entering here, I found countless clues about it. In this world, There is the Tao scripture that is rumored to be formed by the blood of heaven. What they talking about is the Tao scripture. The old woman in green sucked in a breath of cold air. What she was hearing now was simply too terrifying. Master Ashen Pine's eyes revealed a strange light and he slowly said, "It is the Tao scripture. I'm not afraid of fellow cultivator Zhao learning my true purpose. The beast souls are only secondary. My true goal is to see the Tao scripture. There are many enlightened ones here, so getting to the Tao scripture won't be simple." Master Ashen Pine, you. The old woman in green looked at Master Ashen Pine. "Fellow cultivator Zhao, do you remember the thing that spread among my generation when one didn't have an ascendant pill?" Master Ashen Pine looked up at the statue. The old woman softly said, "Those who seek Tao are born in the morning and die at dusk. It is enough. Let's go." Master Ashen Pine withdrew his gaze and rushed forward. The old woman in green pondered for a bit and then followed. As the two moved forward, the erratic voices became even louder. This sound was strange and unpredictable, and it would make your mind begin to wander involuntarily. It required a lot of effort to suppress it by force. As they got deeper into the fog, they got a feeling they wouldn't be able to suppress it much longer. Every step they took felt like a large army was bearing down on them and causing their minds to tremble. Master Ashen Pine's face was pale, but it was filled with excitement. They slowly walked through the fog as time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had been in the fog for 3 days. They didn't know how far they had walked in the fog. On the 4th day, they vaguely saw a small mountain before them. This small mountain wasn't very large, only 10,000 feet tall. It was appearing and disappearing within the fog. A layer of black light surrounded the small mountain, blocking the path forward. Master Ashen Pine looked at the old woman in green and sincerely said, "Fellow cultivator Zhao, my restriction knowledge can't be compared to yours. Please help me break this restriction. This mountain is where the countless beast souls are sealed. As long as fellow cultivator Zhao opens it, you can obtain the beast souls." The old man in green looked at the black light curtain restriction. She arrived next to it and placed her right hand on it. After a long time, her expression became ugly and she said, "This is a time restriction. The longer it exists, the more powerful it becomes. I can't see through how old this restriction is, so there is no need to talk about breaking it. If I had known there was this kind of restriction here, I would have never come." Master Ashen Pine smiled and his hand reached out. A storage space opened and something flew out. It was a black awl with a spiral mark on it. The moment he took it out, a pressure began to spread. "Does fellow cultivator Zhao know what this is?" Master Ashen Pine looked at the old woman in green. The old woman in green stared at the awl with a strange light in her eyes. After looking carefully for a long time, she slowly said, "The strange treasure from ancient times, restriction-breaking awl. Fellow cultivator Zhao is indeed worthy of being a restriction grandmaster, so knowledgeable. I wonder how confident fellow cultivator Zhao is in breaking this restriction with this." The old woman in green pondered a bit and said, "How many restriction-breaking awls do you have?" Master Ashen Pine said, 4. If it was a time restriction that had only existed for a short period of time, 4 would be enough. However, this restriction has existed for far too long, so I'm only 10% confident. The old woman in green shook her head. Master Ashen Pine pondered a bit before waving his right hand and taking something else out. It was a piece of black wood that was the size of a palm. The moment it appeared, an indescribably powerful aura appeared. This aura even moved the fog and formed a vortex 100 feet wide, slowly rotating. The eyes of the old woman in green narrowed. She stared at the piece of black wood and gasped before slowly asked, "Pseudo-Nirvana void treasure?" Master Ashen Pine didn't explain and slowly said, "How confident are you with this?" The old woman withdrew her gaze and calculated for a bit before she said, 40%. If there was the war spirit print, it would be 50%, but unfortunately. Master Ashen Pine hesitated for a bit and took out one more item from his storage space. It was a bright crystal that seemed to have fresh blood flowing inside. The moment it appeared, a heaven-shattering destructive aura spread out. It should be enough with this. Master Ashen Pine looked at the old woman in green. The old woman in green silently pondered for a bit and then said in a hoarse voice, "Master Ashen Pine is going big to take out 2 pseudo-nirvana void treasures. This crystal is obviously a lot more powerful than the last. With these 3 items, I'm 70% confident. 70% is enough." Master Ashen Pine waved his sleeves and the 4 restriction-breaking alls flew toward the old woman in green. Master Ashen Pine was well prepared. If it wasn't for the fact that his restriction ability was truly inferior to this old woman's, he would have already broken it himself. "When you need me to use the treasures, just tell me." The old woman in green no longer wasted any time. Both her hands formed seals and restrictions flew out. At the same time, the black gas around her moved with the restrictions. With a point of her finger, they shot toward one of the restriction-breaking alls. Popping sounds echoed as the restrictions landed on the restriction-breaking all, then the black gas rushed into it. The all gave off a black glow, then an aura that could split the heavens spread out. The eyes of the old woman shined as she bit the tip of her tongue and an arrow of blood shot out at the all. It landed on the all, causing it to fly directly at the time restriction. As it closed in, the black light restriction began to distort as the power of time came crashing down. The all immediately trembled and showed signs of disappearing. The old woman in green shouted, "Break!" The all gave off a blood-red light and a large amount of black gas rushed into the all. It directly drilled into a corner of the black light restriction and sank inside before it rapidly dissipated. At the same time, more black gas came out from the old woman in green and entered the second restriction-breaking all. It shot out like lightning and was nailed into another corner. The remaining restriction-breaking alls also flew out and were nailed into the black light restriction. When all 4 restriction-breaking alls landed, there was a roar from the black light restriction. Originally, countless ripples would have appeared, but with the 4 alls nailed in, it was as if 4 giant rocks were thrown into a pond. Each set of ripples went in a different direction and disturbed the balance on the surface. Just at this moment, the old woman in green formed a seal and pointed to between her eyebrows. She immediately spat out a mouthful of black gas. Her wrinkles rapidly dissipated and she returned back into a 40-year-old, beautiful, middle-aged woman. Large amounts of black gas charged at the black light screen and landed at the center. It formed a black vortex at the center and started to collide with the black light restriction. An earth-shattering rumble echoed. The beautiful woman's eyes lit up and she quickly said, "Black wood." Master Ashen Pine didn't hesitate and threw the piece of black wood. When it got close to the vortex, he pointed at it. The wood immediately trembled and a heaven-shaking destructive aura spread out and the wood suddenly collapsed. The rumble shook the world and pushed the fog out in all directions. The unimaginable impact seemed to be about to dissipate when the beautiful woman jumped forward. She appeared above the impact and sent out countless restrictions. She was able to control the destructive impact to charge at the black light restriction. The rumbling even caused the earth to tremble, and the fluctuations on the black light restriction became even more intense. More ripples appeared, but it wasn't damaged at all, and instead a rebound force appeared. The first all that was nailed in collapse. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Without any order, Master Ashen Pine threw the crystal. When it got near the restriction, it exploded. This crystal contained unimaginable power, and it immediately turned into a huge storm. The beautiful woman clenched her teeth and her hands formed another seal before pointing to between her eyebrows. More black gas scattered from her body and her appearance changed once more. She unexpectedly became a beautiful young woman around 20 years old. The black gas around her turned into countless restrictions under her control and fused with the destructive force caused by the collapse of the crystal. She directed this destructive force toward the black light restriction. A loud rumble echoed once more along with cracking sounds. A crack appeared on the black light restriction. However, the crack quickly closed and it looked like it was about to be restored back to normal. Master Ashen Pine clenched his teeth and his heart ached as he took something else out from his storage space. It was just a jade token, but it also gave off the aura of a pseudo-nirvana void treasure. Master Ashen Pine was extremely unwilling to take it out. The 2 treasures from before weren't really pseudo-nirvana void, they merely contained some aura of pseudo-nirvana void treasures. Although they were powerful, It would be fine if they were destroyed. Although his heart would ache a bit, he could accept it. However, this item was a true pseudo-nirvana void treasure. If this was destroyed, he would feel like his heart had been crushed. This scene made the beautiful woman's eyes narrow and she sucked in a breath of cold air. She wasn't able to guess just how many pseudo-nirvana void treasures Master Ashenpine had. These treasures were extremely rare, but in order to break this restriction, Master Ashenpine was willing to destroy 3. If they were taken outside, their value would be unimaginable. Just exchanging them for beast souls would allow one to have everything they wanted. Shatter. Master Ashenpine clenched his teeth before letting out a roar. He was giving it his all. The jade charged into the crack in the light and suddenly collapsed. An impact far stronger than the last 2 suddenly appeared. It formed a storm that affected all the fog within tens of thousands of kilometers. Crackling sounds echoed, but the black light screen still didn't shatter. However, the crack was now 100 feet wide. Although it was recovering, the rate had slowed down. Master Ashenpine charged forward and rushed into the crack, ignoring the woman. The young woman's eyes lit up and she also charged into the crack. Shortly after, a ray of light broke through the fog and turned into Wang Lin. He looked at the crack but didn't immediately go in. After placing down large amount of restrictions outside, he rushed into the crack. The crack on the restriction was like a scar, and it was rapidly healing. It won't be long before it heals completely. Once that happens, unless one uses that many treasures to destroy it again, then they would be sealed inside for eternity. There was a small mountain inside the crack. Master Ashenpine moved like lightning toward the peak with the woman in green behind. The 2 of them were very fast and instantly arrived near the peak. There was a 200-foot-tall stone gate in the middle of the peak with a lightning-like mark carved on it. This is the location where the beast souls are sealed. Master Ashenpine sent out a message with his divine sense as he arrived next to the gate. He then took out a silver pendant that was shaped like a bolt of lightning. He threw it and the pendant flew at the gate while giving off a harsh, silver glow. At the same time, the lightning mark on the gate also released a silver glow as if it was calling the pendant. Just at this moment, a thunderous rumble echoed and the huge, stone gate slowly opened. Large amounts of dust scattered everywhere. The moment the stone gate opened, roars that could pierce the soul came from inside. The roars from the beast souls turned into an indescribable divine sense that quickly spread out. Fellow cultivator Zhao, time is of the essence. You take the beast souls. I want to take a look at the Tao scripture. Master Ashenpine clasped his hands at the woman in green. If fellow cultivator Zhao is interested, how about going with this old man? Maybe you will gain enlightenment. The woman in green pondered a bit and then slowly shook her head. Master Ashenpine no longer asked. He flew toward the top of the mountain. Although he hadn't been here before, the map he had obtained clearly marked where the Tao scripture was. The eyes of the woman in green lit up as she stared at Master Ashenpine and frowned. She didn't believe what Master Ashenpine had said, but there was no flaw to be found in his words. The beast soul fluctuations proved that what Master Ashenpine had said was true. There was a large amount of beast souls sealed inside this place. After pondering a bit, the woman in green arrived next to the gate. Her divine sense spread out inside and her eyes revealed a strange light. After placing down a series of restrictions, she stepped inside. As for Master Ashenpine, he had already arrived at the top of the mountain. He looked down and watched the woman in green entering the cave, and he sneered. I didn't lie. There is indeed a large amount of beast souls sealed inside. I'm not afraid of you not going in. Even if you had secretly followed me, it would have been fine. He withdrew his gaze and his right hand formed a seal. Rumbling sounds came from the stone gate as it quickly closed and was sealed tightly. The angry roar of the woman in green came from within as well as the sound of something pounding the gate. Master Ashenpine knew he didn't have much time. Once that crack closes, it will be very difficult to leave. He stood at the top of the mountain and took a deep breath. There was excitement on his face. He had waited for this day for a long time. He stood there and lifted his hands before kneeling down. Then his hand pointed at the sky and he began reciting a strange chant. This chant was very strange, and it was impossible to hear what he was saying. However, as he spoke, the seven-colored light in the sky became even more intense. It penetrated the fog and directly landed on the mountain. The light circled above Master Ashen Pine before turning into a rainbow bridge that extended to the void ahead. Master Ashen Pine suppressed the excitement in his heart and moved across the bridge. At the end of the rainbow there was a seven-colored vortex in the void. Master Ashen Pine walked into the vortex. The vortex was filled with chaos and with seven-colored light. This light came from a giant, stone tablet. It gave off an indescribable pressure that made it feel like anyone who entered had to worship it. Master Ashen Pine was no exception. He knelt there and began to mutter. Runes immediately appeared around him until they condensed around his eyes like a seal. A moment later, he raised his head and looked at the stone tablet. There was a skeleton at the bottom of the stone tablet. Only the upper half of the body remained, and its two hands were nailed onto the stone tablet with seven-colored nails. It was the skeleton of a cultivator. In this world filled with seven-colored light, this skeleton didn't change at all but instead gave off a black glow. There were faint words engraved on the bones. These words were tiny and were densely packed all over the skeleton. There was a circular formation several dozen feet wide, and there were countless runes carved into the circles in the formation. At the center of the formation, which was directly below the spine of the skeleton, there was a jade bottle. When Master Ashen Pine's gaze landed on the jade bottle, greed filled his eyes. He knew that the words on the skeleton was the Tao scripture, but he would never look at it. Everything he had said was merely to fool the old woman in green. Once you see the Tao scripture, you become an enlightened one. I'm living well, so why would I come here to die? He licked his lips. His real purpose for coming here was the jade bottle under the skeleton. At this moment, a flash of black light came from the spine of the skeleton and a drop of black, blood-like liquid came out. It landed in the jade bottle, causing a boom. Master Ashen Pine charged at the skeleton and arrived next to it in an instant. His right hand immediately reached out for the jade bottle. However, just as his right hand touched the bottle, Master Ashen Pine's body trembled and a large amount of white gas came from his body. The white gas was absorbed by the bottle. However, Master Ashen Pine didn't panic, as if he knew this was going to happen. His right hand reached to the side and his storage space opened. Origin souls began flying out of it. In just a moment, more than 1,000 Origin souls flew out. They were all sealed, and there was a thin line connecting them all together. The moment these Origin souls flew out, Master Ashen Pine recited a strange chat and his left hand grabbed an Origin soul. The Origin soul immediately trembled and dissipated, but then another one began to tremble. In just 10 breaths of time, nearly 1,000 Origin souls dissipated into white gas and were absorbed by the jade bottle. At the same time, Master Ashen Pine bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a blood mist. Shortly after, 4 rays of light came out of his mouth and formed 4, palm-sized, golden swords. They stabbed toward the circular formation around the bottle. The moment they landed, the blood mist entered the 4 swords. Popping sounds were heard when the 4 swords stabbed into 4 different parts of the formation. Just at this instant, Master Ashen Pine let out a roar and lifted his right hand. He pulled up the jade bottle and quickly retreated. He laughed like crazy and waved his left hand as he retreated. The 4 swords immediately flew out, but he didn't collect them, he let them fly out to the 7-colored world. Fellow cultivator Zhao, have you seen enough? The void twisted and the beautiful middle-aged woman appeared. Her hands formed a seal and countless restrictions appeared before her. The restrictions formed a vortex and stopped the 4 swords. However, the 4 golden swords were extremely strange. The moment they touched the vortex, they melted into golden liquid and bypassed the restriction vortex. They then shot straight toward the woman in green. The expression of the beautiful woman in green changed and she retreated once more. The golden liquid immediately shattered into countless drops of golden rain and rushed at the woman in green from all directions. Fellow cultivator Zhao, although I don't know how you escaped, you shouldn't have followed. This is where the Tao scripture is, so observe well. Master Ashen Pine laughed like crazy. He was about to step out from the seven-colored world and return to the mountain using the rainbow. Once he returned to the mountain, he would immediately leave this place. The crack on the restriction would soon heal and the beautiful woman in green would be trapped here forever. Only by giving up her body and comprehending the Tao scripture would she be able to leave this place. But at that point, she would be no different from dead and would become one of the enlightened ones. However, just at this moment, a cold snort appeared and a figure appeared before Master Ashen Pine. This person also wore green. It was the old woman in green. Her appearance caused everything to become strange. Even Master Ashen Pine was startled. Two female cultivators named Zhao. However, one of them was a 40-year-old, beautiful, middle-aged woman, and the other was a wrinkle-filled old woman. However, one could tell that there was a shocking similarity between them. This is not an avatar. It's the Yang Yin ancestral spell. Master Ashen Pine's expression changed and a thought flashed through his mind. He had thought of a very old legend of a forbidden spell. This spell was terrifying and went against morals. It was extremely difficult to cultivate, and until now, almost no one had succeeded in doing so. However, Master Ashen Pine had to believe it as there was someone before him who had cultivated this forbidden technique and reached the level of 3 ancestors. The Yang Yin ancestral spell was for a female cultivators to get pregnant with a girl. Then this girl would grow up in the mother with a special spell to cause the mother and daughter to share the same body. Later, the daughter would form a cultivation couple with someone else and get pregnant with a girl again. Then the 3 would use the special spell to fuse into one. This was the method used to cause one's cultivation level to increase greatly, and because it was the fusion of 3 souls, their divine senses would be extremely powerful. The old woman in green didn't explain but took a step forward and let out a cold snort. Her hands formed a seal and she inhaled, creating a powerful suction force. Master Ashen Pine was within the suction force, and he felt like all his life force was going to be sucked out. But his expression immediately returned to normal. He sneered and held the jade bottle tighter. It couldn't be placed inside his storage space, or else he would have already safely put it away. He didn't waste any time with the old woman and used his powerful cultivation to leave this place. Although he was shocked by the yin-yang ancestral spell, he was confident in leaving. At this moment, his left hand reached at the void and golden light appeared. The light transformed into tens of thousands of flying swords, and with a point of his finger, they flew toward the old woman in green. At the same time, Master Ashen Pine hit his forehead with his left hand and a ray of red light flew out. The red light looked like a nascent soul, but if you looked closely, it was clearly not a nascent soul. The little person let out a sharp shrill as the bloodlight wrapped around it and it charged straight at the old woman. When the old woman saw the little person, her expression immediately changed. She waved her right hand and an ancient, copper bowl appeared. She immediately threw it forward. The moment the copper bowl appeared, it began to spin and flew at the little person. The little person's eyes released a blinding bloodlight, and it let out a scream that could shatter metal. A rumble echoed and the copper bowl collapsed into countless fragments. At the same time, the countless golden word flew toward the old woman in green along with the little person. Time was of the essence, and Master Ashen Pine didn't have time to deal with the old woman in green. Ripples appeared around him and he was about to leave. However, just as he took half a step into the ripples, a withered arm stuck out from the void and reached at his right hand. It unexpectedly is the 4th ancestral realm. Master Ashen Pine's pupils contracted, but it was too late to think. His left hand reached out at the withered arm and a thunderous rumble echoed. Master Ashen Pine groaned and his face immediately turned pale. Peak mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer. Master Ashen Pine's left arm felt numb and was completely black. Yellow liquid immediately secreted from his arm. He was poisoned. Borrowing the power of this force, he stepped into the ripples. An even older woman stepped out from the ripples. She looked like she had stepped out from a coffin. She also wore green and had lost all her hair, making her look extremely terrifying. Her eyes gave off a ghostly light as blood came out from the corner of her mouth. She waved her right hand, breaking the rain of golden swords, and grabbed the little person. After sealing it, she chased after Master Ashen Pine through the ripples. Master Ashen Pine's expression was pale. He didn't think the old woman in green would have perfectly hid her cultivation level and managed to launch a sneak attack without him knowing. The old woman's spell also contained a strange poison that was attempting to circulate through his entire body, but he forcibly suppressed it. As long as I can leave this crack, there will be no time limit. With my numerous magic treasures, this old woman isn't my match. The moment Master Ashen Pine stepped out from the ripples, he wanted to leave, but the old woman immediately caught up. The two of them constantly attacked each other with spells, and a heaven-shaking rumble echoed across the mountain. They were closing in on the crack in the black light restriction. At this moment, the crack was only 20 feet wide, and it was recovering even faster. Master Ashen Pine's eyes lit up and he recited a strange chant. The moment he did so, the seven-colored light in the sky flashed violently and descended from the sky. The 7 rays of light turned into 7 swords that shot at the old woman in green. The old woman's expression was gloomy as her hands formed a seal and a large, violent light shield appeared before her. The moment it appeared, an ancient aura appeared with it, and there was a hint of devilish energy inside. The 7-colored light immediately collided with the shield and an even more violent rumble echoed. The old woman coughed out blood, but her expression became even more fierce. Her right hand hit her forehead, causing her body to shiver, and her origin soul flew out. The moment her origin soul flew out, the old woman in green and the beautiful middle-aged woman in green who had just stepped out from the ripples also hit their foreheads. Their origin souls also flew out and they quickly fused together. The 3 origin souls perfectly fused together in an instant and turned into a ray of light that shot toward Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine's expression became ferocious. He clenched his teeth as he moved the bottle to his left hand and waved his right. A bead immediately appeared in his right hand. Without hesitation, Master Ashen Pine threw the bead at the old woman's origin soul. Summon, defying one. Master Ashen Pine roared, and the bead gave off a ghostly light. It caused the 7-colored light to rush over and be absorbed by the bead. Shortly after, the bead collapsed and a bolt of 7-colored lightning shot out toward the old woman's origin soul. At the same time, the old woman's origin soul let out a screech and 3 restrictions flew out. The moment they appeared, the world changed colors and even the black light restriction trembled. These 3 restrictions were extremely powerful existences among the life and death restrictions. Life, life, death. As her divine sense spread out, the 3 restrictions fused to form a destructive force that could destroy the heavens, and it collided with the 7-colored lightning. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The mountain trembled and a large portion of it began to collapse. The fog was pushed back and all the figures floating in the fog paused. All the enlightened ones floated toward the source of the rumble. Under this powerful impact, the origin soul split into 3. They were very transparent and quickly returned to their bodies. Master Ashen Pine didn't expect her restrictions to be so powerful. His body was pushed back by the force and he coughed out blood. His left hand was already being affected by a powerful poison. His flesh and blood had turned into yellow liquid and even his bones had begun to melt. Under this impact, his left arm was torn off and dissipated. The jade bottle flew out under this impact and flew toward the crack that was now only 10 feet wide. Master Ashen Pine's eyes were bloodshot as he charged after the jade bottle. The old woman's eyes lit up and she also charged at the crack. Just at this instant, a white figure shot out and moved at the speed of a late-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. It moved past the old woman in green and Master Ashen Pine. It grabbed the bottle and without any hesitation rushed out of the crack. The moment this person came out of the crack, his right hand pushed down at the crack and sent out a restriction. The speed at which the crack healed increased greatly. Lucy how? Master Ashen Pine was startled before letting out a roar, and he charged out from the crack. He was about to chase after the white figure. However, the moment he stepped out from the crack, he stepped into the restrictions Wang Lin had set up earlier. A rumbling sound occurred as many restrictions were set off and caused Master Ashen Pine to pause for a moment. The old woman's 3 bodies fused into one and rushed out of the crack like a bolt of lightning. She chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin had completely hidden himself the moment he entered the crack. He had been hiding near the crack, waiting for a chance. This place was very strange. It was impossible to spread out your divine sense too far inside the blacklight restriction. As a result, he had the perfect opportunity to hide himself. At this moment, he was holding the jade bottle and quickly charging through the fog. The strange muttering sounds continued to enter his ears. At this moment, shadowy figures floated toward him and passed by. The old woman in green was chasing closely behind, but with 2 speed talismans, Wang Lin's speed was unimaginable. As they moved, the distance between them gradually grew wider. "You deserve to die for stealing my belongings." The old woman in green revealed a vicious gaze. She waved her hand and a poison mist immediately appeared. In the blink of an eye, the image of a poisonous scorpion appeared in the 7-colored sky. The poisonous scorpion was tens of thousands of feet large. Its tail lashed out, creating an afterimage as it shot at Wang Lin. Wang Lin suddenly turned around and a cold light appeared in his eyes. He raised his left hand and threw a punch at the scorpion's tail. There was an earth-shattering rumble, and the scorpion tail trembled and immediately collapsed. Just at this moment, Master Ashen Pine also ran out, and his eyes were bloodshot. He took out another bead and ignored the heartache he felt. He threw it and shouted, "Summon, defying one." After he spoke, all the 7-colored light in the world quickly gathered toward the bead and rushed inside. Then the bead suddenly collapsed. The moment it collapsed, the 7-colored light in the world flashed violently and ripples echoed. 7-colored light gathered quickly within the ripple until a giant finger was formed. Heavenly Fate Finger. This place is indeed related to the All-Seer. When Wang Lin saw the giant finger in the sky, his pupils shrank for a moment. The giant finger seemed to have absorbed a large portion of the 7-colored light in the sky, causing the sky to dim. A thunderous roar echoed as it descended toward the escaping Wang Lin as if it wanted to crush him. The eyes of the old woman in green shined as her hands formed a seal before pointing to between her eyebrows. 3 restrictions immediately flew out. They were the 3 powerful restrictions from before that were the peak of the life and death restrictions. Life, death, life. The old woman's hoarse voice echoed and the 3 restrictions fused together into a life and death restriction energy. It contained the essence of life and death as it shot toward Wang Lin. This video will end here.